So myself, Navaneethan Gopal. I'm a principal data scientist at Ingram Micro, and I have experience in analytics, customer experience, employee experience, and data engineering. So probably I'll skip this. Yeah, so this is the agenda today I plan to cover. I'm going to tell why we are using Azure Cognitive Services and what are all the services we are going to use, like entity extraction, sentiment analysis, language detection, and also why we are using that. So that I will cover. And the target audience, probably it's a beginner session you can consider, and it will be very useful for the developers. As of now, data science, it's in boom, and if a developer wants to touch something on the what data scientists do, so this session will be helpful. And yeah, so in this, you should have an Azure account, and I'm going to do demo in Jupyter Notebook and Power BI. And how many of you are aware of NLP? Okay, great. Because I have something on NLP also, because if I'm directly going into cognitive services, it will be a bit heck. So I will start that, then I will move. Okay, so this is what we are going to do. So I believe every one of you using Amazon, probably I can say 80 to 90% using Amazon. So in Amazon, when you're buying a product, so like you got a late delivery, or the product was not meet the expectation. So in that case, what you will do? Probably you will call the customer care, or they will send some link in that you provide your comments. So once you provide the comments, what they will do? Can anyone of you tell about it? So what they will do once you provide the comments? So for example, you are writing say 10 to 15 lines. How they will identify, for example, whether you are talking about product or delivery or the delivery executive or about the seller. So how they will identify it? Any one of you? Yeah, so how they will get the keyword? Okay, so that we will see how we are going to use it. And it's very important. Say for example, you are telling the problem about the delivery. So it relates to supply chain and logistic. So when you are providing a comment, it has to address to that team. So by using text analytics, we can get the topic. For example, you are talking about 4 topics. For example, one is delivery and delivery executive behavior. So if you are talking about the delivery, then automatically it will trigger a note to the supply chain team so that they can take some action. Probably they will call you or they will give you some feedback about it. Yeah, so this is what they will do. For example, by using the sentiment, for example, you are dissatisfied about the product delivery. So you are detractor. And what segment having strong opinion? For example, you are talking positive about the product. So then the product quality is good. So if they need to identify that segment, it will be useful. And also if they need to improve something on the product or the department, so this will be helpful. And also it will prioritize the customer service issues. For example, you are giving a positive feedback, so it can be addressed later. However, the issue has to be addressed quickly. So this will be helpful. And finally, we can create a benchmark. For example, last year, the overall experience is about out of 5 rating, 4.5. So this year, it reduced to 4.2 or 4.4. So those kind of benchmarks also we can do. So I'm just going to give the same demo using Jupyter Notebook and Power BI. So for example, in this session, I'm going to use cognitive services. So in this, 3 things we are going to do. We will do the sentiment analysis, and we will try to get the key phrases. For example, whether they are talking about the delivery or the delivery executive, so that we will get it. So that will come in key phrases. And finally, the entity extraction. So entity extraction, we will talk more in the session. Yeah, so before that, so I'm going to use cognitive services. So it is this API, I'm going to use it. For example, the cognitive services or cognitive services with multi-service account, which means cognitive services itself providing multiple services. So if you want to use that, you can select this. then you can, it is similar to creating any service. For example, I have already created the multi-account, the service account, so I can use that for this demo. Yeah, so now I will talk a bit about NLP. So NLP, it's nothing but natural language processing. So for example, in my previous example, I given about you are telling something about the product and delivery and all. So once we get the raw text, what we will do, we will remove the stop words, URLs and punctuations. So after that, we'll do the tokenization, lemmatization and stemming. So I will show you an example what is tokenization and what is lemmatization and all. Once that is done, we have some regular expression and lookup tables. So in that, we will process the data and finally we get the cleaned text. For example, so this is the example. So here we are processing the text. For example, so this is the text. Deepak gave us a real chance. So in this, we are just splitting everything. So once that is done, we are doing the pre-processing, which is like converting the text into lowercase and replacing the punctuation and also creating some tokens and all. So once that is done, we use NLTK package. So this will help us to remove the stop words, and we have certain algorithms, so that I take from NLTK. For example, in this text, what are all the stop words that will get removed? So here, for example, I'm using English. So in English, we have certain stop words, only that is getting removed. So once that is removed, then I'm using the perceptron. So this will help us to do the POS tags. So once that is done, now I'm coming into the stemming and lemmatization. So for example, without cognitive services, I have to do all this. So you have to be good in NLTK and probably any one of the programming languages. For example, you have to do all these steps. Once you are completing all this, so then you will get the value like that. Say for example, in the text, carrier mentioned twice in the first text, yeah, and data, it is mentioned in each and every comment. So like this, we do it. Then we have a technique called a TF-IDF. It's a weighted model, and this will help us on the term frequency. For example, each word appears how many times. So all these things you should have some knowledge, then only you can do this NLP. So instead of that, while using cognitive services, you don't need to do anything. Just you need to install that multi-service account. You can get the API key and you can directly use it. I'll just show it. And also, I just want to highlight some more thing. So these are all the some NLP libraries we use. For example, NLTK, just I mentioned, and TextBlob, Spacey, and Stanford NLP. And nowadays, more things are coming. Probably you can search Hugging Face. So they are doing very good thing. And like a perceptron, transformers and all they are using. So that is the latest thing. Okay, so all these things we don't need to do. For example, I have already created the cognitive services one. So here I have already taken the API and the URL. So that I'm going to use it in this cognitive services one. Yeah, so probably, yeah. So before that, I will just show the comments what I have. For example, these are all the reviews I have already. For example, I have taken the comment from Microsoft site itself. So this is about hotel, and say after your stay, you are providing some information about the room service and all. So these comments I'm going to use for this analysis. Okay, so I have already processed these comments. So I'm just loading those comments to my code. So after that, so this is the one I was talking. So this is the cognitive key I taken from Azure portal, and this is the endpoint I'm using it. So after that, that's all. Just I have given those keys. These two packages I need. One is Azure AI Text Analytics, and the other one is Azure Cognitive Services Language Text Analytics. So these two packages I'm installing it in my libraries. So once that is done, so this is the common function which we are using for language detection. So this is the another use case I need to talk. For example, in my company, we conduct employee experience survey. So probably most of you aware of that employee experience survey. So if your company has a global presence, for example, you may have colleague in German or French. So they will provide the comment in French or German. So while we are analyzing the text, we cannot process the data directly. So first what we have to do, maybe Google Translator or Microsoft Translator, APIs we will use it, and we will translate that text into English. After that we will do the processing, for example the lemmatization, stemming and all. Then we will get the sentiment. Then again we need to transfer that, translate that into German or French. Then only I can pass that to the executives, German executives. So when I'm using cognitive services, I don't need to bother anything. I can directly use German or French. So I will show that as well. So here, this function will help me to detect the language. For example, the review one, it is in English, and the English code is EN, and the score it's coming 1. So actually, I have all the reviews are in English, so it detected English. So in this, I haven't done anything. For example, I haven't done lemmatization or stemming or the TF-IDF. I haven't done anything. I just called the Azure Cognitive Services, and I have already given the key, and it is working. So now probably I will show you the another example. For example, statically I'm giving some text. Say for example, here I'm giving some text Tamil. So when I'm pausing it, it will detect automatically Tamil. So here I'm getting language Tamil. So you may ask, so this data scientist will do, why I need to bother? For example, you are a developer and you are having an application. So you want to make the application smart. So for example, for that you don't need to read all these things. For example, what is text analytics or AAM? So you don't need to bother anything. Directly you can go to cognitive services, you can create the API, and you can, it's like a plugin, and you can use it in your application, and you are making your application smart. So it will be very useful for the developers as well. And the next one is very useful one. So it is PAI, which is personally identifiable information. For example, I'm getting the text. So in that they specified Chennai, or they specified some company name. So I need to get those information. For example, so in this example, I just copied from some address. So Ingram Micro India SSC Private Limited, and the address I have, and also something about the company, my company. So here I'm just using that PA recognition from the library. So what it will do, so it is telling like the entity is Ingram Micro India SSC Private Limited, and the category is organization, and with a confidence score of 90%. So 90% it is telling this is organization. Similar way, we have the address. So that category, it's coming as address with a confidence score of 77%. So in this way, we can easily detect the information. For example, you have 10 lines of code in that, what is organization, what is address, what is food. So all those things you can get it easily. So this will be very helpful while we are doing the analytics. I mean, you have say 50,000 or 60,000 rows. From that, you need to get some data or some insights. This will be very helpful. And finally, it will give the date as well. For example, if July 1979 the company started, so it is coming the category as date time with 80% confidence. And the next one is key phrase extraction. For example, you are providing the comment, and the comment is about what? For example, in the review one, they mentioned these things: good hotel, good service, clean rooms. So these are all the key phrases they are talking about. So the reason we are showing it, so once we are doing sentiment analysis, so they are talking good about hotel. However, they are not talking good about rooms or the service. So when we are doing that, this will be helpful. And also sometimes what we do crawling, website crawling. So in that case, from website, you are taking too much of data. You need to map that back to country specific. For example, India website data, map it to India. If you are getting from United States, you have to map that too. So in that scenario, this will be very useful. For example, which country or which city, so this will be useful. And yeah, And also some other example also. So this is also similar. So the above one I just got from the reviews, and this I'm passing some sample text. In this, what are all the key phrases it's coming. And moving next to sentiment analysis. So sentiment analysis, like whether the comment is about positive or negative or neutral. So that thing. So here, same thing. For example, we have the library called text analytics client sentiment. So I'm using that from cognitive services. And if the sentiment score is less than 0.5, I'm tagging that as negative. And if it is greater than that, I'm tagging that as a positive. So in this, for example, review 1 coming as positive and review 2 coming as negative. So let me show the review 2. So for example, this is the review. This is a old hotel, which is negative, and the room furnishings are average. So that is also negative. So overall, we are getting negative in the sentiment analysis. And yeah, so the next one, so the next one will be the next level. For example, the previous one, it is giving the overall level, overall positive or negative. So if you want to move to next level, for example, delivery, they are talking positive, but delivery executive, they are talking negative. So in that case, topic based sentiment. So that also will be very helpful. So that I'm using with this thing. And yeah. Okay, so probably I will just move to the Power BI because it will be, I have next 5 to 10 minutes, I'll take it. So this is the example I thought of showing. So probably I haven't given much importance to the look and feel and all. This is, for example, Tailspin Toys. It's a sample data from Microsoft. So in that, they are talking about the delivery and the product, everything. So here they have NPS. I believe you are aware of NPS, which is Net Promoter Score. So this will be helpful in customer experience. For example, if you are talking positive about the company, you are promoting the company, you are the promoter to the company, but you are talking something negative, so you are the detractor. So as a management wants to take some action on the customer experience, then they will focus more on detractors. For example, you conducted employee experience survey. In that, out of 10,000, some 2,000 members talking bad about the company. So they are a detractor. Then probably they will give more attention to the detractor, and they will take some actions. Probably, why are you not satisfied? So what kind of actions will make you satisfied? So these things they can do. So for example, in this, I'm just selecting detractor. So in detractor, some persons are positive also. So these are all the text. Probably I will go to English. So in English, these are all the words they are talking. For example, these are all the detractor topics they are speaking. So in this, I just need to filter negative. So these are all the items. Probably this is not, we cannot take any insights from this. So what I can do, I can just go to comments. So here I have filtered the same thing. For example, the detractor, then I'm just taking the negative comments. So these are all the negative comments. So in this, I'm getting the person names. Then I can just go and so for example, here I'm getting the sentiment. For example, I'm just taking negative. So in this, what they are talking about. For example, they are talking about, sorry, it's so it's a probably it's a incorrect comment. So it's not meaningful. So if the management wants to look at the comment exactly, for example, who is the detractor, and out of that, how many of them telling negative. So in that scenario, we can use this. And finally, I will just show how I can use Azure ML into Power BI. So this will be useful. So it's very easy, like within a minute we can do. So already they have given the documentation clearly. So for example, if we need to get the key phrases from the text, we can use this. So here we just need to update the API key and the endpoint. Then we have the function which will take the key phrases from that text. So I just need to take this code. So how many of you using Power BI? Okay, so I will tell you the process why I'm using Azure ML into Power BI. For example, you are having a recurring data load. For example, you have an employee survey and people are taking the survey on quarterly basis. So for example, earlier what we used to do, we was using NLTK, download the comments and do the review and prepare everything in the PowerPoint and we give it to the management. But this will be like man hours, it will take more. So instead of that, what we did, we connected the data to, we loaded the data to SQL and from SQL to we connected Power BI. So here we have the entire data sources. So in this, I created the cognitive services key and I'm directly using that in the Power BI. So here I don't need to do anything. Just I call the cognitive services, it automatically translate or it automatically pick the key phrases whenever data get loaded. So for that, what you have to do, just go into transform data. So in this, just right click and create advanced editor. So here you have to paste the code. So for example, this will help me to get the key phrases. I have just placed it. So after that, yeah, you can apply. Then you can just come to your data. So here what you can do, you can go to home and you have to add a column. So when you are adding a column, 1 minute. So just you are adding a column, then you have to call that API. So whatever the function you created, that you have to call it. For example, so here in the key phrases, I have called it. So this key phrases, it's coming as the function, which is from the cognitive services one. So then automatically this data will get refreshed. So this is very good part. Okay, so probably architecture we created. So we are getting the source data and in that we are just loading the documents and we are using Azure Cognitive Services, that cognitive skills, and it's very useful because all are pre-trained and tested one. So Microsoft taking care of everything. We are just calling the API and using it. After that, we are getting the enriched document. So just for example, whether it is positive or negative or what topics they are talking. So all those things we are getting, then easily we can project that to our insights. So if you are doing some analytics, you can use that data easily. And these are all the different services by Azure, cognitive services. And like as I mentioned earlier, all these services are pre-trained one. For example, if some of you heard about data science and someone is working, so generally we need to have trained data set. So for example, 70% we will use the trained data set to train the model. For example, you will give negative comments and positive comments, then you will tag that to positive, negative and all. So then only you can run the model. So here everything is taken care by Microsoft. And also easily it is integrate, we can easily integrate. Like for example, if you are using your manual code, you have to test it and it may work or it may not work. So in this, we don't need to bother anything. And finally, you don't need to have machine learning experience. You can directly use it. And in this, this is the current services they have, 5 different services they have. Vision, it is completely about image processing. So the computer vision, custom vision and face API. So this probably whenever you are doing some logging into new login or something, it will ask you to confirm you are a human. Like they will show some bridges or some rivers and all, they will ask you to confirm. So that and all will come in customer vision. And nowadays like driverless car and those things they are trying. And the speech one, so this will be very useful for disability persons or the call center analytics and all, they can be used efficiently. For example, in the call center, they will record the call and whether they are giving good response to the customer. So those things we can do. And the next one is language. That's what we seen in the demo. We seen about the entity recognition, sentiment analysis, and also the translator, we have used it. And finally, the decision one. So this will be like detecting the anomalies. For example, if something is not going good or not regular one, then detecting it. So I haven't used this one. Probably we can see that later. And the new one, it's in the preview, that is OpenAI services. And yeah, and this also we already discussed it. So it's very easy. They are having the REST APIs. We can get a key and build it. And it is cross programming one. For example, we can use with the Python or .NET or Java. So they have libraries. So we can use it easily. And also it is tested well. So we can use it easily. And finally, so this is the one earlier I was talking. So what is the difference between sentiment analysis and opinion mining? So sentiment analysis, it will tell overall sentiment. For example, the room was great, but the staff was unfriendly. But the insights, it directly moved into negative sentiment. However, when we are using opinion mining, based on that term frequency and all, so for room, they given the opinion about great and the sentiment is positive. About the staff, he is unfriendly, so they given the sentiment as negative. So based on your needs, you can choose it. So whether you want to go with sentiment analysis or opinion mining, so you can take the call. And finally, so these are all the resources. And Microsoft documentation, it's very good. If you want to learn something, you can use Microsoft Learn platform. And they are having lots of learning challenges. So when you are participating in it, you can get the certification voucher and you can upskill yourself. And yeah, so that's all. Thank you.